Sunday afternoon in the year March 2013, I received a call from a doctor in one of the hospitals in Nairobi. He called me and said that there was an emergency and that I needed to be at the hospital as soon as I can. So I drove in what appeared to be the longest drive that I've had. And getting to the hospital, I talked to the doctor. What I learned from that afternoon has changed my life forever. As a young graduate, I've had a sterling career in the work that I do, especially working with people with disabilities in Kenya and within the East Africa region. I've created networks that has allowed me to interact with different organizations and also being able to secure opportunity to work in different places. So in 2005, I got an opportunity to get an international job and work in South Sudan as a disability programs advisor for a local NGO there. And so for me, life was good. I was a young man who was just beginning in his career, and everything was really good. And so this day, I walk in the streets of Nairobi. I meet an old friend of mine who was in college together in company of two ladies. So these two ladies introduces me to this other lady who happens to be his girlfriend, and then this other lady who is his girlfriend's friend. And so I looked at her, and this beautiful lady, well-dressed, she had this amazing smile. And every time, that smile that really like warms a place, it's really what it's. So I looked at her, and at some point I told myself, this is the woman I want. And I pursued with all the passion and the determination. And so I got to know her name, what she was doing. We realized we were in the same field. Again, the few days that I was around, we were able to have coffee. And later on, when I went back to my work and came my next holiday, we had more coffees and more dates. And then I decided, as a show of really commitment, I flew out of the country because I didn't want, this competition. When I just had you. So I flew out of the country. I took her to Kampala in a place called Equatorial Hotel. And what she was not aware is that actually I was going to propose to her. So I proposed to her in the poolside of a hotel called Equatorial, and actually it was like there was a live band playing. Some Congolese guys were playing their music, and I tell you, everything stopped, and guys were clapping for me. And of course, she accepted my proposal, and like everything, like it's always said, the rest is history. Yeah, so we started a family, and everything was well. And the way it is expected in African, expectation that now you're married, now the next thing is to see what? Kids. So the kids came. So we got our first daughter, and then our son in the space of 3 years. And I thought even that was long. I thought it should have been shorter than that. Yeah. So everything was good. We were this young middle class, you call it with a quote, in Nairobi. We had 2 cars. We were living in fairly decent neighborhood. Our daughter now was beginning to go to school, a private one for that matter. So, yeah. So, and everything was really good. I decided, again, a show of commitment, I decided to come back to Kenya. I said, I'm going to resign this job because I wanted to be with a family. I'm wired family-wise. It was something that I like to spend around my family. So I resigned my job and then came back to Kenya. But I told my wife then, we will make these changes, but then you'll have to support me because we will make some adjustments. I remember I would send her 40,000 shillings for upkeep. Just I paid rent for 3 months, so I'm coming back. Don't worry. Just make your nails, your manicure, is it called manicure? I don't know. And but now, when we were making these adjustments, I said, now some things might change. It will change, definitely. So, and we agreed. And so we came. I came back to Kenya in 2009. I got a job and I picked up from there. And so everything was shaping up. I looked for her a job, and she was now working. And so at least we were able to, we didn't, hatukufinyika sana. So picked up vizuri. Now, there was now the sudden turn of events happened. While she was doing the work that she was doing, in a company of 2 men and a boss, 3 men, they went for a field visit in the sides of Northeastern Province. And while they had to work there, I went to pick them at the airport because they flew. And then I came home, that was Sunday. And so I went to, typical men who love football. I will not tell you who my team is, I know. Arsenal, yes, it is. How did you even know that? Okay. So I received this call on Sunday afternoon in the middle of a match, and I'm told, the doctor calls me and says, please come quickly to the hospital, we need you, you're needed. And so I got to the hospital, and shocker on me. The person I'm seeing on the hospital bed is my wife, in tears. And I asked the doctor, what happened? And the doctor said, your wife had been sexually abused. By who? By the leader whom they were going together. I asked him to repeat what he said again because I couldn't process that. And he repeated the same words again. Your wife was raped. And I can tell you, if there is anything that has shaken my world, my life, it is the events of that day. I was raged. I was so angry. I mean, I wanted to pull that hospital, and I couldn't understand what exactly, how somebody would do anything like that. I talked to the doctor to explain, and why is she? They said she's here because you want to put some treatment. You want to put her on treatment, and so in that spin of my mind, I went out of the hospital. I hit anything that I could come across. And I went to my car and I told the doctor, please, give me the next 10 minutes. I locked myself. I was trying to process that. I got into the questions that I was in my mind. Why was this happening? How could somebody I know do that? And I said, this is somebody whom we go to the same church. And I said, why would somebody do that? Any human being would do anything like that for somebody, for a friend, for a colleague. And so, from anger and all those things, I decided I was going to revenge. I planned. I got to know that there are people who are hired criminal. You could actually hire a criminal to execute things. I got one. I called him consultant. We discussed everything mapped out, the cost and everything. I paid him a down payment. But in the course of that, God spoke to me and said, you know what, James, revenge is not yours. It's never yours. Leave it to me. And so after a few days, the guy calls me. I'd already known where this guy was frequenting. I knew where his movement. But every time I see him, I would boil. Everybody would see me like something is wrong, something has happened. And they will ask me, are you okay? Or are you having like seizures? Are you like, and so we shelved that revenge mission. And of course, I watched enough movies on revenge, and I know it's better served cold. Yeah. So when we I just decided, okay, fine. For this, just leave it. And that was a very difficult decision to make, because I told myself, God told me the revenge is mine, it's not yours. And the question was, what if you're good and you go to committee? What about your children? What about your wife? So I shall that. And then the life now that will follow was one that took us through indescribable pain and anguish, because all of a sudden, the things that appeared to be normal were no longer normal. Just the same way that the sun would rise from the east and set in the west, and everything seems normal. For me, it was not. It changed the way I looked at life. It changed the way I look at people. It changed the way I look at friends. Our relationship, of course, dipped. We were having all those challenges. All of us, we were fighting our own demons. For a man who is so much wired to family, and all of a sudden have to deal with all that has happened, was a very tough one. I resigned my job because I didn't want anybody to know where I was. I would break down in the middle of the road, and I had a red Golf Mark IV. I respect that German machine car. It knew my character. It knew my character, because sometimes I would drive just like crazy, and I know I've done 180 something or almost 200, and just like to deal with some of those, I would break down 1,000,000 times just inside the car, close myself, deal with that. I went to look for a job in an organization that nobody knew me. And luckily, I got a job later. But at home, the pain, the anguish, what has happened, ate into the joy that we had as a family. It looked like, a dark cloud had come and made itself a home inside our home. And so we struggled. 2 years down the line, the inevitable, the things that you could not imagine happened. We separated with my wife. And our 2 children now had now to be raised by somebody, by their mother, their grandparents. She had to look for a job somewhere else out of the country just to deal with that. And so for me now, separating was one of the things that really brought me down. Even I went into depression now, because that was the only support system I had. We stayed for 2 years, even with all those issues, but we knew that along the way, maybe we will make it. And so all that, down the line, 7 years today, things are beginning to shape up. I have my children. We could talk together. We could spend holidays together with the children, something that I would not have that opportunity a few years ago. We're beginning to talk with my wife. Just spoken today. And in this story, I know she's my hero, wherever she is.